Trying to get everything situated. School, welcome back. Happy Friday. It's Friday here at the School of Shred. Welcome to episode 34. This is Q&A Friday. So we got some good questions today that we're going to go over. And so as you guys are jumping on, go ahead and comment where you're at, where you're located. Let everybody know where Shred Nation's at. Throw a flex emoji in the comments. Let's see a little bit of rock hard muscle in the comment section here as we start this episode. Welcome to the School of Shred. This is the show that's designed to help you shred your old and make better your new. A better body, a better mindset, a better life. It's not just about shredding body fat. It's about shredding limitations and becoming the person that you want to be. And so you can go produce more inside your life, not just in the gym. So with that said, if you guys want to learn more about any of the topics we've discussed this week, go to schoolofshredpodcast.com. I am currently doing a 10-part holistic health course for free. If you give me the email or your email and provide that, and I will make sure you guys get that. So schoolofshredpodcast.com. And we are live Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. That's on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. And these shows will go live on the podcast app and Spotify if you want to just take the show on the go and just have the audio. So with that, let's get into it. If for some reason this video here on Facebook and YouTube is a little glitchy, my apologies. Just be a little bit patient here. We're trying a new camera system out to try and get better quality. So it's to make the show better. So with that said, let's get into it. So question one that we got this week is, how often do you recommend getting blood work done? Which is a really good question. So the first thing is that I am not a doctor, and depending on your current health status, your doctor is going to be the one who decides that. So your doctor should guide you on that. With that said, typically, blood work is done annually once a year. So that's kind of like the bare minimum I've seen. But I've had clients that were pre-diabetic and they would do it quarterly or every 6 months. And so blood work, there's a lot here. I got 2 pages on this. We could honestly do a whole episode just on the different types of blood work you can do to really just make sure that you're in good standing health. But again, nothing is more powerful than talking to your doctor. That's who you should go to get any type of advice on this stuff. All I'm going to do is just share the fact that more information is better. And so the more often and frequently you get your blood work done and you check everything out, the more information you're going to have so you can make educated decisions and know if something is working or not. Me as a coach, as a health coach, blood work can be extremely valuable for my clients. What I have my clients focus on is more blood glucose testing, which is something that they can self-administer, and we can see where their fasting levels are at. It's much cheaper. They don't have to worry about insurance and stuff like that and going into the doctor. So it's a nice little snapshot that we can get numerous times a day if we want, or in the beginning of training, and it can really, really help. But with that said, what is blood work? So blood work, it breaks down. There's a lot of different tests that happen. And basically, they just draw blood when you're usually doing your annual exam. Out of that, you got your complete blood count. So the complete blood count will check various things within your red blood cells, your white blood cells, your platelets, your hemoglobin, and your hematocrites. So that will check basically to see if there's any alarming issues going on there. That's a complete blood count. Then you have a thyroid panel, which is great. You can check T4, T3. Let's see here. There's the T3 resin uptake they check. They check thyroxine, which is T4, and then thyroid stimulating hormone. Thyroid stimulating hormone. So one of my teachers, Dr. Serrano, he said when he started medical school, the average test was 10 for thyroid stimulating hormone. Now it's 3.5, which can basically lead to hyperthyroidism, which can ultimately lead to lower thyroid. So you don't want a dysfunctional thyroid. So it's good to get these numbers checked with your doctor and see where you're at. And then you start putting a plan together on how to better that. So that's the thyroid panel. And then you have a basic metabolic panel. And this will check electrolytes. It'll check calcium, glucose, CO2, chloride. There's a bunch of different stuff that it'll check. So making sure potassium and sodium levels are good. You have nutrient levels test to make sure you got B vitamins and things like that. You have enzyme tests you can do, and then lipid panel, which you're probably familiar with, which is going to be testing HDL, LDL, checking your cholesterol particles. So that's all good stuff. Some stuff that you might want to look into more, which sometimes isn't standard, is looking at C-reactive proteins. So that can show arterial inflammation, signs of irritable bowel disease. That's really good for just inflammation and managing inflammation. And then you also have DHEA sulfate testing, which can is very important because it's kind of telling you what's going on with your androgens. And then you have calcium scan, which is optional, which can basically check arterial plaque buildup. Typically, this isn't recommended for people under 40, and it does subject you to some radiation. So it's up to you, but it's just, these are different tests that you can look into if you really want to get the full panel and take the car into the shop and really get everything tested with your doctor. So your doctor's going to know best. So, just let them know, hey, look, I'm curious in this, and this. Getting blood work done can be super beneficial. You can do it quarterly. If your doctor thinks that's good, but I mean, if you're healthy, you're healthy, your doctor will let you know. However, if you start a new diet, say like you want to try keto, testing before and then do a couple months of it and then test after can be really beneficial. So you can actually see how these different lifestyle changes and dietary changes can affect you. If you're trying to do something on your own, they can be great. So that's kind of the blood work thing. What is blood work, and how often you should get it done? Always listen to your doctor on that one. But definitely more information is better. The more information you can get on your health, we like that. So the next thing I'll get into is something that I'm real into with my clientele and trying to manage, and that is blood glucose tests. So there's several of them that you can do. There's one called GlycoMark, which is gives you basically 1 to 2 weeks. I kind of give you this average of what's going on. You have a hemoglobin A1C test, and then we have glucose testing, which you can do daily. The hemoglobin A1C is going to be more of like a 2 to 3 month average. And so the glucose testing is something that, like I was saying a minute ago, something I do daily and try to manage blood glucose variability because of the implications that can have on a lean, healthy body and staying, not only just a lean, healthy body, but a healthy metabolism and staying away from insulin resistance, which can lead to a whole host of problems. So if you were to look at these different tests, you basically have a hemoglobin A1C test you can get done that will give you like a 2 to 3 month average of your blood glucose. So what's going on over the course of 3 months with your blood sugar regulation. And then it breaks down into, then you have a GlucoMark that you can get done, or a GlycoMark. And then this is interesting because this will tell you kind of on this weekly basis. But then the GlycoMark can show what's going on between the time that you're getting the hemoglobin A1C test. And so in one of the manuals that I have, one of the education courses I took, it actually shows you got 2 people with the same score, but it shows that, the one gal has more variability and more spikes, which can be problematic. So that's something that we start looking at, like doing the daily testing and understanding what foods we eat, which particular foods are causing these spikes, and trying to manage these spikes. And so that's why all three of these guys can be beneficial, because you can do kind of your long-term quarterly test to see what's going on. You can do the GlycoMark, which is a couple weeks. But then you can manage it daily with something simple, just like pricking your finger and taking your blood glucose, and make sure your fasting levels are not reaching over 90 or 100 or 115. 125 is diabetic fasting glucose numbers. But there's a lot of speculation from some great doctors out there that have great books you can read that talk about, it's really encouraged to stay under 89 for your fasting glucose. So take what you want out of that. But that's something that I personally do. I believe in. I try to keep my blood sugar numbers stable and low because of the implications of this hormone sensitive lipase enzyme production that can actually help you mobilize more fat when you have lower blood sugar. Furthermore, growth hormone goes up when blood sugar levels are lower. So, and that's one of the things that happens with like long-term fast. Like if you do like a 3 to 5 day fast, growth hormone numbers go really high. If you have a resilient metabolism and you end up breaking, you fast and then you end your fast with a hard workout, and then you feed, you might be able to hack naturally into muscle building potential. So just cool stuff like that like I've thought about as I've collected this information. So the glucose testing, that's a big one. And so what I like to use for glucose testing daily, though, is the Keto Mojo. I bought it on Amazon, and you can do daily blood testing on it. So you just prick your finger. It reads you your blood glucose in 4 seconds. I do it every morning right when I get up. I do it at lunch, and I do it at dinner or after dinner. Recently, I've been doing it a ton to just try and learn. Like I'll do it 30 minutes after a meal, 60 minutes after a meal, 2 hours after a meal. I'm trying to see exactly what's going on with the current plan that I got so I can manage this variability. And because I do so much fasting and I have large meals, I'm trying to see like what's the spikes like. And so you can learn a lot on your own about that. And the thing is I'm real confident that if I'm managing this every day on my own, this blood sugar testing, I'm self-administering, I'm checking it out, everything seems really good, there's not a lot of spikes, well, I can be pretty sure that if I got a GlycoMark, it's going to be really good numbers. All right. And then I can be pretty sure that if I get a hemoglobin A1C test, it should be really good numbers, because if I'm managing it every day, that the micro will add up to the macro. Okay. But you still can get it done, check it out. It's all tools and resources that you can use and utilize. And so anyways, like I said, this Keto Mojo can also test ketones. So you can do, like right now, currently I'm in ketosis. So I'm doing both. So in the morning, I'll check my blood glucose first. So like I did this morning, it was 82, which is good. I'm happy with that. I want it to come down a little bit if I can. And then my ketones were 2.3. It's burning hot. Had some coconut butter last night for my dessert. So anyway, so that's kind of a good little tool that I like to utilize. So you can consider that. And that right there wraps up question 1, 13 minutes in. So thank you for your question. It's a good one. But again, talk with your doctor. That's the person that you need to be consulting with about blood work and whatnot. So number 2, what would you suggest for people who have suffered from injury or are recovering from surgery that are not very mobile? Up the veggies and less protein? So this is a good question from a friend. So this is awesome. There's a kind of a few things to this. So if you had just had a surgery and so you weren't mobile, so say you had like a foot surgery and you weren't able to exercise, or I mean, even, like COVID has kind of got everybody stuck anyway. So this kind of relates to everybody who's not active and maybe working from home right now. What I would have a client focus on that had suffered from an injury and basically was just not mobile. They couldn't move as much. I would have them focus on food quality. Definitely limit processed refined carbs, unless you want to really cut your calories low and if it fits your macros. I mean, you can do that if you want, but if you focus on food quality, whole earth grown nutrients, low carbohydrates, because you're not burning as much, And then, high fats, which aren't going to spike insulin. They can keep blood sugar low, and you keep protein high as well. Okay. And just so happens, lo and behold, nature packages fat and protein together naturally all the time, like in meat and other scenarios like eggs and dairy if you can tolerate it. So that's what I would recommend. I'd recommend managing blood sugar. I'd recommend, not having big spikes in your day, especially if you're not able to move that much. I would recommend knocking out some push-ups numerous times a day. Like yesterday, I talked about leverage your lifestyle. Try to get creative about leveraging activity into your day. If you had a surgery, so say like if I had a foot surgery, I would throw the gimp foot that's recovering over my good foot on the ground, and I would knock out some push-ups several times a day, or I'd prop it up. I'd make sure I'm not putting any forces through it, so I'm not going to stress it out at all. But I would want to try and move my upper body. So that's kind of the first thing: is low carbs, high quality fats, high protein. Protein has a high thermic effect of food. And it takes like 2/3 of the energy. It'll basically 2/3 of the energy of digesting protein will get burnt up trying to make it into fat. So it's very unlikely that you're going to turn protein into fat. Whereas it's like the reverse with carbohydrates. It's easy to turn them into fat. It's also easy to turn excess fat into fat too if you're not fat adapted. So protein, eating more of it is great. You can use it as fuel if you need to. You can use it to rebuild things. It's extremely versatile. The thing that I would say is you also want to manage inflammation if you just got off of a surgery or you're trying to recover. Say you're doing little workouts and whatnot, and you're trying to like rehab your injury. You want to keep inflammatory markers low. You can do this by, if you like way over consume protein, there's speculation that it could be a little bit inflammatory. But eating too many calories is inflammatory. Eating too much processed refined food is inflammatory. Eating foods that are deemed healthy, but they just don't agree with your digestive system, that can cause inflammation as well. And so this is a great question because there's been an episode of the School of Shred on pretty much every one of these thus far. And then the other thing that I would have this person do is probiotics and worry about digestive health. And so to wrap up this second question here, I'd want to look at food quality, lower carb, higher fat, higher protein type diet. Protein has a high thermic effect of food, so it gets burnt up trying to digest it. It increases metabolic rate, you could say, just trying to digest it. I'd focus on probiotics and digestive health, and then low inflammatory diet. So that's the answer for number 2. Thank you for your question. Question 3, what's your favorite probiotic? My favorite probiotic. So I recently started making my own probiotics. I actually have sauerkraut that's been fermenting for about 10 days. So I like sauerkraut. I like kimchi. I really like all of them. I like fermented carrots. I like trying to explore. I'm going to explore making my own fermented vegetables of all types. Big thing that I'm into is I got my own garden. So we have a great garden out back, and we're going to can some stuff and freeze stuff and really focus on this self-reliance and also soil control. So when you have your own garden, you can control your own soil. And that's what's great because it's something that's often forgot about, but the mineral content of your soil, that's gonna equate to more nutrients in your vegetables and healthier vegetables. For instance, my girlfriend, we gave her mother, who has basically a farm and a piece of land, she's had farm animals and a garden for several years. We gave her some of the same kale that we're growing here. And I think we got pretty good soil here. Like I put some work into it over the last 5 years. But her mom, the kale at her mom's, it's the same space apart, and her mom's kale is like insane. I mean, it's growing. It's wicked, and so I can't help but think it's the mineral content of the soil. And so anyway, so with that said, like all the vegetables that, I can grow in my garden, I want to try playing around with fermenting those guys. And all you do, to create like a lactobacillus strain of probiotics like sauerkraut and kimchi is you just create a little brine with like some pink salt and the natural waters of it, and you submerge it in the water and you ferment it. And so, like I said, I like kimchi, sauerkraut. Those are kind of my go-tos that I use a lot, but I'm not above any of the other ones either. I like it all. I like all sorts of fermented foods. I think they're great. So thank you for your question on that. Is there a cutoff time of eating before bed? So this is number 4. This is the last question of the day. So a cutoff time before eating before bed. Yeah, so you want to be in a rest and digest state when you go to bed, but you also want to be in a rest and digest state when you're eating food. However, there is a reason that you might want to shut the food down 60 to 90 minutes before you go to bed, if not longer. And that's just for getting all the food in the digestive system, right? So like if you just ate a meal and then you lay, in a supine position or prone position, like you start laying down, that's not going to help that food get down in your digestive system. And so what I like to do, a secret that I like to do is when I eat, especially when I do, one big meal a day, and I do it at night, is I like to try and stand for 10 minutes after my meal, and just try to get kind of like my body pushing the food down and working a little bit. And so I kind of have a protocol that I've come up with around eating. So that's making sure that I chew my food slowly. I slowly enjoy it. It's making sure that I try and breathe through my diaphragm, which can actually help activate more of this parasympathetic response and get you in a relaxed rest and digest state. So 90 minutes can really help facilitate that digestive process, and then you can hit the hay. Yeah, that's the best way. But I have times where I cut it a little too close, and I basically eat, then I got to go to bed. So, but if you do that, you might notice you're getting like debris on your tongue when you're sleeping. So it's just best to try and be with like in 90 minutes. So cut it down for 90 minutes. Eat some food. If you're hungry, brush your teeth. That's a good way to fight the hunger demons at night. So anyway, thank you guys for your questions this week. That's episode 34 of the School of Shred Q&A Friday. So we'll be back on Monday, 9 a.m. With a whole new list of good stuff for you guys. I hope you guys found value in this week. I hope you guys have a great weekend, Shred Nation. If you want to learn more about the podcast and get on the email list and take advantage of my free 10-part holistic health course, you can do that at schoolofshredpodcast.com. You can go get your free Shred gift. Thank you for supporting the show. If you guys can rate us and do a review on iTunes, that would be much appreciated. I'm going to send you something cool. If you can do that, screenshot it and direct message me. Have a great weekend. And with that, I want you guys to stay strong and healthy in body. Stay relentless and energized in your spirit. And stay determined in your pursuits. That spells shred. Now go shred the day and get better in every way. Until next time, school, class dismissed.